Superheroes are not fictional, they walk on the same planet as us and are more commonly known as firefighters. Get ready as I present to you the firefighters doing the impossible, from carrying burning gas tanks to rescuing people dangling at staggering heights. So without any further wait, let's get to it. Number 1. May Day. On May 16, 2020, the Los Angeles Fire Department rushed to the scene of a fire engulfing a one-story building. As the firefighters arrived, they saw smoke seeping from the locked structure. They had to use power saws to force their way in. Other firefighters climbed ladders to ventilate the roof, but then they started hearing a high-pitched sound and rumbling. A call was made for these responders to evacuate the building, but before they could manage to get back to safety, a huge explosion erupted. Cameras captured the heart-stopping moment as a fireball engulfed the firefighters. Shouts of "Mayday, Mayday" rang out, a distress call used when a firefighter is trapped, injured, or missing. One firefighter later recalled that being caught in the inferno was like being thrust into a 30-foot blowtorch. They fled with their fire coats burning and helmets melting. Turns out the fire was in a small factory that makes butane honey oil, which involves extracting cannabis from plants to create concentrated hash oil used in vape pens and other products. This process also involves the use of butane, a highly flammable gas, and was likely the cause of the explosion. Following the Mayday call, over 230 firefighters fought to control the fire, bringing it under control in less than an hour. At least 11 firefighters were injured in the blast, with 2 ending up on ventilators. Fortunately, everyone pulled through. Imagine walking into a building and realizing it is about to blow up, and now you have to make your way to safety with heavy fire suits. These firefighters show what it takes to do this dangerous job. Number 2. Fuel truck.
Yes, how you doing? It just had an 18 wheeler. Oh, Lord!
911 received a call from a distressed caller reporting that an 18-wheeler fuel truck had a traffic collision and now is on fire just next to a gas station. The firefighters rushed to the scene, and upon arrival, one firefighter tells dispatch they needed multiple fire trucks immediately. The front of the 18-wheeler was engulfed in huge flames, and the fuel tank could explode at any moment, potentially causing severe destruction across several blocks. The firefighters knew dealing with this fire could be deadly, but didn't let fear take over and kept focus on figuring out how to control the fire while taking all necessary precautions. Explosions began going off, and a chief ordered all fire trucks and crew to back up at least 2 blocks. The firefighters were trying everything to fight the fire, but they couldn't just spray water on it due to the hazardous material. They needed foam, but didn't have enough to get the fire under control. Realizing the danger, the team decided to let the truck burn itself out before getting closer. The frustration was palpable as helpless firefighters threw their helmets, wanting to act, but knowing they couldn't. Safety was paramount. Finally, a foam truck arrived and started spraying from a distance. The firefighters stood by, ready to move in after the fire gets under control, and when it did, they ran to the cab of the truck, only to find the driver in a condition that would certainly haunt them for a while. Though they couldn't save the driver, it's surreal to think these firefighters stood so close to a fire that could have exploded the entire fuel tank and gas station, potentially killing them too. Yet these heroes were on a mission to protect, even if it meant putting their own lives in danger. Number 3. Catch. A firefighter's helmet camera captured a heart-stopping moment when a father had to drop his 5-year-old child from 3 stories up. Heroic Captain Scott Stroop quickly got underneath and made a clean catch. But this wasn't the only child tossed from the burning building amidst falling embers. Captain Jackie Peckrell, positioned on a ladder when the Captain Stroop made this catch, also caught a 4-year-old child dropped from the balcony a few moments ago, and that too while she was on a ladder. The parents, facing an agonizing decision, trusted these heroes with their children's lives. Thanks to the quick actions of Captain Stroop and Captain Peckrell, multiple lives were saved that day. Number 4. The elites. You would hear someone is a firefighter and automatically think of them as a beast who went through rigorous training to get there. But did you know there are some firefighters considered elites in the firefighting community? Known as smoke jumpers, these are highly trained wildland firefighters who skydive into remote places to put out blazing flames. Imagine parachuting into danger, knowing that these mindless, rapidly spreading fires could surround you in an instant, with no civilization or roads for miles. It's no wonder they are called elites. Their job is to contain the wildfire by creating fire lines, which is digging out lines around the fire to starve it of new material to burn. They also assess the fire, gathering crucial information about its size, behavior, and fuel sources, which they relay to fire managers to develop strategic responses. And get this, they don't just drop from the plane, work for a few hours, and head home. When they jump, another parachute carrying their supplies is thrown out too. These supplies include tools, camping gear, and enough food for 2 days. Sometimes they have to carry these heavy bags, hike around the fire, and put up camps nearby for days. And if you think we covered all the risks, let me remind you, unlike skydivers landing on smooth, planned terrain, smoke jumpers land in remote, unexplored areas. A bad landing can result in serious injury from unexpected tree branches or rocky surfaces. Tragically, this was the case for Tim Hart, a smoke jumper from Wyoming who was severely injured while responding to a fire in New Mexico and ultimately lost his life. Smoke jumpers truly are the elite, facing extreme dangers to protect our wildlands. Number 5. On fire. You might think scenes of someone being on fire and staying composed only happen in action movies, but it actually occurred in real life. A firefighter was using a circular saw to cut through a grill to access a burning building when gasoline from the tools spilled on him, igniting his suit. Without any frantic running or screaming, he calmly walked over to the truck, where 2 other firefighters quickly sprayed him with water, extinguishing the flames before he was injured. The rest of the team remained focused on the bigger fire, undistracted by their colleague because they knew he would be okay. This calm and composed reaction highlighted the immense courage and professionalism these heroes display. Even the firefighter who had been on fire just casually returned to his duties. The team managed to knock out the building fire in just 24 minutes. Number 6. Gas tanks. What would you do if a gas tank caught fire? Probably use an extinguisher, right? And if that fails, you would run as far as you can, and that is actually the wise thing to do. But running away from the fire is not something firefighters do. Watch this firefighter from China carry a burning gas tank that could explode at any moment in his arms, with flames dancing right next to his head. In an interview, this absolute hero stated it was no biggie, just something that had to be done. Walking out of a store with a gas tank is one thing, but another firefighter took it to the next level. Unable to extinguish the fire in a burning gas tank, he carried it from the 9th floor. While you might wonder why he didn't use the elevator, that would have been even more dangerous. He successfully manages to go down 9 levels and take the gas tank away from the building. Number 7. Rope rescue. The members of the New York Fire Department are also called New York's bravest, and these daring rope rescues show why. When a fire broke out in a building, a woman living on the 16th story became trapped by smoke, which obstructed her escape route. Soon, flames and smoke engulfed her flat. Desperate to save herself, she stepped out of her window and onto a ledge, stranded over 160 feet above the ground. The firefighters made their way into the building but couldn't get to her because of the fire, so they got into the apartment above and assured the woman that they were there to help, urging her to stay patient. As she inched along the ledge to get away from the smoke, it scared all the onlookers who thought they might witness a horrible tragedy. But the firefighters were determined not to let that happen. They performed a rope rescue where a firefighter from the apartment above hung on a rope and came down to take the woman in a bear hug. For 3 long minutes, the firefighter held her tightly as the rest of the crew fought the fire inside the apartment. She was safely brought back into her apartment after the fire was put out. But this wasn't the only time New York's bravest have performed this maneuver. In another fire incident, where one man had already lost his life after hanging from a balcony to avoid the flames, the firefighters got on the roof and reassured the 3 people who were still holding on that they were going to get them. With no option of waiting outside, the firefighters came down from the roof, grabbed the people one at a time, and slowly lowered them to the ground. These incredible rescues are just a few examples of why they are truly New York's bravest. Number 8. Drive-through. This is the spine-chilling moment when a fire truck in Australia is overrun by a devastating wildfire. The terrifying video records firefighters driving through a ravaging bushfire with embers blowing around the truck, creating an otherworldly sight. As they continue down the road, a wall of flames blocks their visibility. The firefighters hold up flame-resistant blankets against the windows to shield themselves from the heat of the raging flames hitting the side of the fire truck. Can we appreciate how, despite being on the verge of death, these firefighters are not panicking? The vehicle survived the fire without breaking down, and all the firefighters were safe. Now this is a ride they aren't going to forget. Number 9. No glancing back. These firefighters were watching the match-deciding penalty of the quarterfinals of the FIFA World Cup 2018. Just moments before the Croatian player would kick the ball, the call-out bell rings. Instantly, the firefighters get into action with no hesitation, no glancing back, just focused on putting on their protective gear. Within 30 seconds, they are in the fire trucks and out of the station. The crew that stayed back at the station witnessed the goal and had a small celebration of their own while their mates were on a mission. This shows the immense discipline and professionalism these firefighters have. Their speed. It's like the emergency caller wouldn't be done with the details yet, and they would already be at the scene. Number 10. Fire trucks. Most of the time, overlooked, but equally important part of a firefighter's job is getting to the scene as soon as possible. So the firefighters driving the fire vehicles have to be experts at their jobs. Look at this fire truck just moonwalking its way into another lane. Wondering how the driver pulled off this drift? Well, it's actually not a drift, but a crabbing maneuver performed by a specialized fire truck called a tiller. How does it do that? It actually has 2 people behind the wheel. One in the front cab, the main driver, and another at the back, the tillerman. The front driver drives like a normal person, while the driver at the back maintains the truck's position by steering the independent rear axle. This makes the fire truck weave lanes and make sharp turns so smoothly you would think it was gliding. A tiller is a bigger truck with more resources and is more effective in getting around quickly. But these crabbing maneuvers can also serve another purpose, such as when a tiller truck occupies 2 lanes on a Dutch highway to stop civilian traffic from crossing the firefighting escort as they make their way to an emergency scene. However, not all firefighters in the world have tiller trucks, but that doesn't mean they lack the instincts. This fire truck in the Philippines does an actual drift when it reaches a sharp corner. And that crew hanging on the sides? They really go hard in the Philippines. Don't you think there should be a charity event once in a while with firefighters racing? Number 11, point of view. Now let's get a first-hand look at what it's like for a firefighter to combat lethal flames. Our first firefighter standing outside this house records the horrifying sight from his body cam of flames shooting out the windows, and when the hose is ready, he opens the door and begins spraying water. Take a look inside, you can see nothing but flames. We all know that firefighting isn't for the faint-hearted, but getting an up-close look like this really hits you differently. This guy loves what he does and enjoys showing the flames who is the boss. Although this fire is put out smoothly, what the next firefighter encounters is unbelievable. As he walks up the ladder, he sees the floors being devoured by merciless fires, and the roof has already collapsed. When filled with water, these hoses are very heavy, but this firefighter manages to maintain his balance and effectively spray water into the room, which will be just ruins by the time the fire is out. Being inside a blazing structure carries its own risks, particularly the potential of the burning roof collapsing and trapping the firefighters, but this daring firefighter isn't concerned. He figures that since he's already inside, he might as well go all the way. He makes his way up the staircase to spray water at the attic trusses of the home. You get to see sights like this in movies only, but it's hard to comprehend these are real-life scenarios with uncontrollable fires these firefighters face. Number 12. Backdraft. The nightmare every firefighting team tries to avoid as they approach a burning structure is the backdraft. This dangerous phenomenon is a burst of flames and smoke exploding from an enclosed space. It happens because the fire inside an enclosed space starts starving for oxygen. While the oxygen level drops, the fire continues burning, creating a lot of partially burned fuel gases. When a door or window is opened, fresh oxygen rushes in, igniting these gases rapidly and causing an explosion. One deadly backdraft was caught on camera when the New York Fire Department was responding to a fire in a row of stores. A powerful burst of flames followed by a cloud of smoke engulfed the entire crew. Number 13. Timely rescue. Firefighters responding to a fire at 2 a.m. witnessed a mom stuck with 3 young children on a second-floor balcony. The officers quickly set up the ladder, and the woman handed off her kids one by one to the firefighter on the ladder, who then handed them to others below in a formation like an assembly line. As the heated flames approached the mother from behind, she yelled in distress to help get her kids to safety. They managed to bring all of them to safety just a few moments before the roof started to collapse, and eventually fire destroyed the whole building. Watching these firefighters carrying the children is heartbreaking, but at the same time, reassuring of how many times these firefighters saved the day and will continue to do so. Number 14. Dog save. Uniform or no uniform, a true firefighter never loses sight of what they are, a protector. This off-duty officer was driving by when he saw a home on fire. Without a moment's hesitation, he sprang into action. He spotted a dog in the house, which people were trying to call out, but the dog refused to leave its home. So the off-duty officer ran into the burning home with no protective gear, determined to save the furry friend. The neighbors were terrified to see a man go into the house, whose roof seemed ready to collapse at any moment. Although the dog wasn't happy about a stranger in his home, but with quick thinking, the firefighter grabbed a blanket, wrapped it around the dog, and carried it outside. The collapsing roof can be seen falling completely just as they reached safety. After saving the dog, the firefighter simply got back in his car and drove away. He was later identified as Tim Tawater, just a normal man doing his job and not hanging around for accolades. But for the dog and the family, he is a hero. Number 15. High angle. A worker at the Blunt Island Marine Terminal got stuck at a height of approximately 180 feet between a high-level basket and a crane. When someone needs help, who shows up? The firefighters. They assessed the situation and realized this would be a high-angle rescue, a technique where rescuers are totally dependent on ropes to safeguard the victim. This was no simple situation where a firefighter could be lowered down, grab the victim, and bring them to safety. the firefighters had to go through multiple strategies to save the trapped man in the crane basket above the elevator. The final plan involved anchoring a system at a high catwalk, and the firefighter was lowered down to the trapped man. After the captain put the harness on the victim, they slowly lowered both men to a height of 80 feet. From there, the patient was transferred to a Stokes basket and then lowered to the ground, where paramedics were ready to provide care. This complicated rescue showcased a poetic display of smooth teamwork and communication. Number 16. Overloaded. On September 11, 2021, a wildfire broke out in Los Angeles, and a wildland firefighters crew was quickly dispatched to contain it. The crew spotted a raging fire across Old Highway 99 and decided to go all in with an attack strategy. However, this did nothing significant to the fire, which only became more erratic. The crew, consisting of firefighters from the Los Angeles County Fire Department and Angeles National Forest, decided to retreat to safety. Before they could get away, they found themselves quickly surrounded by the fire. This was a deadly situation, reminiscent of the 2013 Yarnell Hill fire, where firefighters lost their lives, so they knew they had to escape quickly. Tom Guzman, the engine boss from Angeles National Forest, wasn't leaving anyone behind, even if they weren't from his department. He accommodated 13 more LAFD firefighters into an already full fire engine. Tom, still outside, tried to deploy a fire shelter, but the driver requested that he get in quickly. He jumped in from the driver's side, despite the lack of space, with his half body on the driver and half on the passenger. The quick actions of Tom Guzman undoubtedly saved more than a dozen lives. Only 2 firefighters from each department sustained fire injuries. Number 17. Close call. 3 firefighters were working on the roof, creating a hole for ventilation directly above the fire when things took a dangerous turn. The roof started collapsing. One of the firefighters jumped to the other side, while another was about to jump but noticed his fellow firefighter hanging by one hand. He grabbed onto him. The firefighter on the other side pulled the hanging man until he could set his feet down. Once he was secure, the firefighter jumped over and helped the other firefighter pull the man to safety. They then walked toward the ladder, checking on each other. The yellow-hatted firefighter patted both men as a thank you gesture for the life-saving effort. It was a dangerously wholesome display of brotherhood and teamwork. Well, that's a wrap on our fiery journey through the world of the dangerous job of firefighters, where every other day they put their lives in danger to protect people. Which clip shocked you the most? Do you have any stories of your own encountering these heroes? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed the video, hit that like button and make sure to subscribe so more thrilling content like this keeps coming your way. Until next time, goodbye.